Hey, 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 how's it going? I'm getting all of this set up now. The film just finished. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. I'm trying to test this out real quick to make sure that we're looking good. So for all of you that's joining for the first time, please let me know if everything is coming in and sounding clear. I am doing my best uh, to try and do this for the very first time. Hopefully, those dingings are not bothering the stream itself. But yeah, let me see here. First and foremost, as I get things set up, all of you joining us for the first time, joining me rather, and anyone else who's here, chime in, please. I am excited to hear what you have to think. This was a process of getting this up and going. It took the better half of 8 months, 8 full months. So yeah, the stream here. No one's chiming in right now. I've got a couple of people that are hanging out. So please give a shout out. Just let me know what you're up to. Ooh, double audio. I think it's fitting for what you just watched. So I've got an agenda. I do have everything. Part three, baby. That's right, Spencer. Part three. Well, I do have a couple of ideas in mind for expanding the story. It doesn't just end here, so to speak. There's going to be more to it. But let's get to that here in a little bit. Oh, Raquel saying I need a part three. I'm really curious. All right, so let me ask you first and foremost, what did you interpret in terms of like how it ended in your mind? Like, what do you think happened? I really want to know. Rachel says, hell yeah, buddy. Rachel, thank you very much. Rachel and Spencer, thanks for watching and also being a part of this wild journey. I says, part three, I got anxiety. That was the part of it. I wanted to scare you and freak everyone out. The main part of freaking everyone out was me taking off my shirt, which, by the way, Quentin and Darren, those were the twins at the very end. I did freak them out because they had no idea the first time I opened up that door I was going to be shirtless. And boom, I hit them with a very pale chest. And that was probably the scariest thing about this because I keep touting it. It's like my first horror short film. Although we've dabbled in it. Spencer, who's joining in, we've done a couple of projects in the past. We've worked on that, but hey, let's go ahead. We've got a couple of people that are in the chat joining us for the first time. I'm calling it a fireside chat for all of you who know that reference. It's a shout out to FDR for doing those fireside chats back in the World War II era. So we've got a nice little fire brewing. It's keeping my back hot. And we've got part two. I got a few props. We got the script right here. Also, if you notice this from part one, weeks sign, that's what the character was using to write down, keep track of the time spent that he was away from his loved one. And that's his way of telling time in this new world, so to speak. All right, so Spencer, first question. Rachel, I want to know, where was the torture scene shot? So that was actually, funny story, shot in the basement of a family. And technically it was my grandmother or great-grandfather's building, but they sold that a couple of years ago. And I know we've got some family members in this chat, so let me know if I'm getting that wrong. But they sold that a couple of years ago, and there's something really hilarious to note, because in addition to going there, I was not planning on shooting there. That all was a last-minute issue that happened, and let me backtrack and say that the original plan was to go to where my family lives, and I was going to use an old warehouse, and it's now being used by the local police. Well, turns out that there was an issue with locking in that location, and there was, I'll chalk it up to a misunderstanding. And so there's a last minute pivot, and it was a game time decision. I kept the location where we actually shot in my back pocket. I'd mentioned that to my father, who helped me on the shoot. I drove down overnight. It was about an hour away from where we currently live, Spencer, and so it took about an hour to get there. Whenever I arrived that day, that night is whenever I found out that the first shooting location, the now police station or warehouse, was not going to be accessible. So we pivoted. And in an hour, we switched gears and went to this location because as a kid, I remember it looking really creepy, but also really awesome as a setting because I wanted a setting where it was like a warehouse, an abandoned building, that kind of weird vibe. And also something funny to note, there in that warehouse, because of COVID, they did not take down the Halloween decorations from the year prior. So those were still up. And we also used various props that were left behind for that previous Halloween. And my dad and I pulled it over to the side. And in the background, in the shadows, you can see what are supposed to be like bodies. Those are what, as the antagonist said, mindless bodies. That's supposed to represent all of those people who he's experimented on, or those that have come prior. So that is those were props, and it's really hard to see, but especially whenever you see the tarp scene in the very beginning where the protagonist is being dragged across the concrete on the tarp. You see that in the very background. But yeah, so that's where the warehouse scene was shot. Julie, my mom, who were those guys? I'm curious. What do you mean, who were those guys? Are you talking, I'm guessing, about Quentin and Darren? Those are actually real twins. They're real. Not like I did not do anything fake to fabricate that. And I see the TV. Hold on just a second. It's starting to mess with me in the background. So I may have to turn around and switch that on and off every once in a while. But yes, Quentin and Darren helped me. And it was actually a last minute decision because I was not planning on using them originally, but I wanted to play into the idea of thing one, thing two. It's literally a kind of, I wanted viewers to think whether or not this person was like his mental state. And that's really the primary objective of creating this in the first place, was looking at, especially going through COVID, as much as this is a COVID era film, I did not want it to be about COVID. I wanted it to be about how are you handling and coping with isolation and depression and a lot of things that I dealt with, all of us faced as well. So Quentin and Darren, I approached Quentin about this and asked because I was walking and thinking this would make a great addition. And so they were down. They were up for it. So Dustin Pruitt, love it. Thank you very much, Dustin. Isis, how long did it take to make this? Just curious. It took literally 8 months to create this. Let's rewind all the way back to the very beginning because part 1 came out on March 1st. I wrote and finished part 2, the script for it, the week after. And then the week after that is whenever I was going to start shooting. And that was going to eat up the bulk of it. And however, my girlfriend ended up getting appendicitis. And so we, because of that reason, shout out to you because Raquel, I literally, we were talking about this the other day, but it was one of those things that she was rushed in to the hospital, and I called off shooting that day, and I went to be with her. So, however, we got to work just a few days later. We shot that, and then my sister and I drove to DC in one weekend, which was the weekend of after Raquel got appendicitis, and I talked to her to see, kind of what she was feeling, what she thought about that. But beyond that, it was a situation that I left at like 2 or 3 on a Friday. I picked up my sister and we spent 27 hours together total on the road. I spent about 33 hours myself on the road, and it was wild. And my sister, God bless her. She was like, let's do it. I'm in. And so a shout out to you, Sarah. Thank you very much. And anyone else watching this, please applaud my sister for putting up with me for that long. And so, yeah, after that, fast forward, there were several production hiccups that we encountered along the way. I want to say that as well. So we shot it all. And then whenever I returned from DC, I sent Nicole Leva, who, shout out to you, Nicole, she helped in literally scrubbing out people from the National Mall in that opening scene. And so Nicole got to work on that. And then in the meantime, I worked on the film. I did a few other things as well, as much as possible. But then through this, it also birthed the Minuteman Project, which I work on as well. So if anyone's interested in that, I'll post a link to that in the description after this video is done. But and yeah, so then 8 months later, we're here, and you have now part 2. So let's see here. My mom, I was waiting to see the cages in DC. No cages. That was not the plan. The plan in DC was to go and shoot there, and that was it. It was all about trying to, like, how far would you go for a loved one? In this case, I know the connection between the main character and the antagonist, or the protagonist and the heroine in this. And so with that being the case, in my mind, I know their connection, and not just in terms of them being connected, like personally, but also professionally. The idea of shooting in DC, part of my storytelling, I love this. This idea is show, don't tell, or don't overtell. So I pitched it to my sister. I said, there's a reason why we're in DC, but that's up to you viewers to kind of piece that together and kind of formulate your own idea why he is in DC. But with that, I wanted to be in DC and show we're there. It's not a green screen. It's there. I did not want to fake that. And so we drove just for that. And so my sister and I, we did that in the weekend, met up with some family members as well while we were there. So, and then we hit the road, we came back. But with that being the case, that was grueling, but there are a lot of different parts of this that were very, very grueling as well. So let's see here. One last thing about the DC thing. It was once again, to show distance traveled. Raquel, what was the most challenging? It was so intense. Yes, I wanted to make it intense. The most challenging, so talking about it being grueling. Honestly, I would say looking back and trying to play 2 parts, but they're very connected. Which I want to ask those watching, who do you think those 2 were? Was one, like, were they twins? Were they literally one person? Were they 2 people? Like, who do you think the protagonists and antagonists are? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let me know. But that was grueling to be able to try to play 2 different characters, but they're also the same. So as it goes along, you see that one character, the protagonist, slowly starts to lose part of himself as it goes on. And then the antagonist starts to almost flourish. If you see the color in his face, and as it goes on, it becomes more of a more vibrant, more like he's coming to life, so to speak. So one is deteriorating, the other one is gaining in strength. Let's put it that way. So that was grueling, not only for acting and trying to hit those notes, for playing different character, like technically the same character, but they're not. But beyond that, we were shooting out of order, and we were all over the place. And I was trying to keep track of that. And my dad saw me so many times going off to the side and just writing down notes and trying to keep track of where we were, because my dad helped me and shooting that there at the warehouse scene. 2 nights. We shot that over 2 nights, separated by about a week each. And we worked all night. I got there and we literally worked from about 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. both nights. And we made the most of it. So all of those scenes took 2 nights, and it was double the work because I had to shoot everything twice. So go figure. All right, so let's move on. My mom twins. Dustin, love this. I'm ready for part 3. So far, we've got several of you saying that you're ready for part 3. Raquel saying, me and my missing appendix, thanks. Thanks you, LOL. Yep, this is a shout out to Raquel's appendix. Isis, interesting. I hope so. I hope you found it interesting. Maybe not too wild, but then again, I would kind of want it to be wild. Dustin, Sarah's was all in. Yeah, she was. My mom, Sarah's a sweetheart. Nicole was in on it too. Yes, Nicole knew of the DC. I wanted to keep the DC thing a secret. I really, really did. And I only had told Raquel for safety reasons, my sister and my brother-in-law for, once again, safety reasons, to know where we were. And Nicole was the one to scrub out the graphics. But I pretty much said, don't tell anyone. If you tell someone, then there's nothing I can really do. But please don't tell anyone. Dustin, I felt like it was a battle between good and evil. Boom. You hit the major reason why I ended up creating this and kind of taking that stance. I am in love with Stephen King. This is a major love letter to John Carpenter, one of my favorite actually maybe my favorite director. Especially the ending. And by the way, the end of this uses a score from John Carpenter in The Fog, which is the soundtrack Reel 9. If you want to scare the crap out of yourself, listen to that tonight with all the lights off. Kind of like what I'm doing tonight or right now. Dustin, they were one person in my opinion. My mom, a clone. Spencer, Parallel Earth Daniel. Foxy. Raquel, I think it was one person, but battle between good and evil. Yet again, yes. That's very, very true. For the battle about good versus evil, I don't want to answer whether or not it's one person or not. I really want that to be up to you to determine if you feel that way. My mom, once again, chiming in. I thought the world had been taken over by crazy scientists who were cloning people. I mean, I don't want to say. I don't want to say. Speaking of, got a photo of my mug in the background. So, all right, fam, friends, it is past the time I said that I would end up going. Any final questions before we end this? I want to kind of open this up to your discussions or any other questions that you may have. Because I had a few things I was going to go over, but we pretty much covered it all. Oh, I do want to give a shout out to Ariana or Ari Gardner, who played the heroine in this. It was one of those things that I asked her to join, and I was curious kind of how she felt, because I know it was a really out there idea, but I just wanted to do something a little different. And she loves horror movies and thrillers. So Ari, thank you very much. You ended up nailing those parts and did a great job. Dustin, great work, Daniel. It wasn't just me, buddy. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate those words. I also have to give a shout out to Ari, Quentin and Darren, Coggin, Nicole Leva, my dad, my sister, and everyone else who's put up with me over the last couple of weeks and months for being a little at times, because it's been challenging. All right. Pretty much that all covers it. But hey, I want to hear your if you've got any other theories, feel free to share. But I'm going to end the live stream in 1 minute in case there are any lingering questions. So Raquel, what can we expect in part 3? And then my mom, part 3. I'll say this much. This is very much so a self-contained story that I wanted part 1 and part 2 to be it. Like, that was it. That would end it. In my mind, the ending for part 2 kind of bleeds over into a spiritual sequel. I created this idea to work as a threequel, where there would be 3 different stories. This one just happened to be split into 2 parts because I wanted to shoot in the snow. And then after that, I'm like, I have more to tell with this story. So let's drive across the US. However, there are 2 other stories. I will say they are self-contained, but they're linked in ways. That will take money, that will take time, and that will take a lot more people, cast and crew, to help with that. So hey, if you know anyone working for like HBO, Netflix, a stream, or someone who's wanting to invest some money into a story, something like that, I've got two. And in addition to that, I've written out kind of where I want to take this story. But these characters are kind of, this is it for the characters, in my opinion. There could be more to be told. So I'm not squashing your dreams, everyone, for part three. There's a possibility to see these characters again. I'll leave it at that. But Raquel, awesome job. Dustin chiming in once again with part three question mark. Maybe we'll see. It's very much so. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it ended? I guess it left you wanting more. That's always a good thing. Go out leaving. I can't remember who said this, but some wiser person than me said, keep everyone wanting a little bit more. So, anyways. Fam, friends, thank you so much for tuning in, watching not only the short film, but this live stream. Want to do something a little different. So, again, thank you very much. I'm going to end it. But hey, if you want to check out more videos, go check out part one if you have not. You can go check out more Minuteman videos as well, which this project inspired me to start that. And I'll share that in the description as well. So once again, thank you.